This little pillow of fat is a pork belly burn-in with a mango peach habanero glaze. Let's make them. To start, cut your pork belly into cubes and then give it a really heavy coating of your favorite sweet pork rub. From there, it goes on a 250-degree smoker where you're gonna spritz it with Dr. Pepper every 45 minutes. When it hits 190, glaze it up, let that go another 15 minutes, and I guarantee you'll be left with one of the best bites of barbecue you've ever had. Voodoo Rolls. Now this is just taking some Cajun flavor and putting it in an egg roll. I mean, I feel like if you roll and fry anything, it's gonna be better. To start, you're gonna saute your andouille, onions, and garlic with Worcestershire. Then you're gonna throw in crawfish tails and a heavy amount of Tonys. Let that all cook for a few minutes to allow those flavors to all come together, and then remove from the heat to let it cool down. Once cool, add your shredded mozzarella and stir to combine. To build the egg rolls, just add a couple of tablespoons of that stuffing, and then you're gonna take your finger and use water around the edges as you go, and that's gonna act as the glue to keep it all together. These go in the fryer for a couple of minutes or until golden brown. Serve with a honey mustard and watch them disappear. These are called... The perfect crab cake is 90% crab, and this is how they're made. Start by sauteing a little onion and bell pepper until soft, and then add to a bowl jumbo lump crab, onion, bell pepper, 1 egg, Worcestershire, Old Bay, dry mustard, truff mayo, which you can get at Whole Foods, and just enough breadcrumbs to hold it all together. Form those into patties, and then you're going to pan fry in butter until both sides are golden brown. And I guarantee if you follow this recipe, it will be the only way you do crab cakes from now on. This will be one of your favorite ways to make Brussels sprouts. Start by removing the ends and then shred using a food processor. Or if you don't have a processor, you can use a knife to thin slice. Once they're laid out on a parchment lined sheet, we're going to chop some garlic and add that to the pile. Then we're going to add kosher salt, some black pepper, a little bit of smoked paprika, and then a heavy douse of olive oil. Mix all that together and throw in a 400-degree oven for about 15 to 30 minutes. To finish, you can add as much bacon and Parmesan as you want. And if you try this, I guarantee... Y'all want to smoke a fatty? Let's do it. Start with a bed of pork sausage and plenty of spicy danos. Next up is a layer of boudin or dirty rice if that's all you got. Then we're going to throw down a big block of pepper jack cheese. Now we want to roll it up and seal that meat together as best we can so the cheese doesn't bust out during the cook. I added a little bit more spicy danos, can't go wrong there. And to finish it off, we're doing a bacon weave blanket. This was a big ass weave, so I had to tuck that skirt in underneath. From there, we're going on the smoker at 300 degrees until internal hits 165. And will y'all just look at this? I mean, if you do this at your house, I guarantee it will be at least the second best smoked fatty you've ever had. I call these tamale dumplings. And they're a cross between a Venezuelan dish called boles pelones and tamales. We're going to start by cubing our pork shoulder and letting that simmer for a couple of hours until it's really nice and tender. While that's going, we're going to make a pepper sauce with guajillo and chipotle peppers with some cumin, salt, and pepper. Get it really well pureed in a processor and mix it with your finished pork. Now to make the dough, it's just masa harina, chicken broth, and a little bit of oil, which you form into balls, and then make little pockets. Stuff those with a tablespoon of the shredded pork and then fold your dough around those to create a dumpling. Those are going to boil in salted water until they float. And I like to serve these on a bed of fresh craving salsa and put a little Mexican crema and queso fresco on top. Check your produce section for the fresh craving salsa, and if you try these, I guarantee you won't be disappointed. Rack of lamb is one of my all-time favorites, and this is how it's done. You start by making a Dijon mustard-based marinade, which you'll coat the lamb with, and you'll put that in the fridge for at least a few hours or even overnight. These are going to roast in a 500-degree oven for about 10 minutes. Then you pull it, and you're going to put butter-coated breadcrumbs all over the top, and that's going to form a crust. Now these go in for another 15 minutes or so, but you really want to cook the temp. I pull mine at about 120. You should have a really nice golden brown crust, perfect pink interior. And look, I'm biased. My dad would make this all the time for our Sunday dinner, so that's partly why it's my favorite. But if you try this, it'll be one of yours too. Look, Mexican cornbread is superior to all other cornbreads. And this one is a must try. To start, brown your beef with onions and taco seasoning. Then oil a cast iron pan and preheat in a hot oven. I'm using a cornbread mix with buttermilk. You can make it from scratch if you want, but if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Then goes your rotel, corn, cheddar, and that meat mixture. Dive on in and mix with your hand. Don't be scared. Now take that preheated cast iron pan, spread out your mixture, and bake it in a 425-degree oven for about 20 minutes. Or until a toothpick comes out clean after you insert it. When it's ready, throw some tomatoes on there, a little bit of Mexican crema, some cilantro. And this is why Mexican cornbread is the best. You're not going to get this flavor from your dry-ass corn muffin. So, who wants a piece? This is a Twinkie, a Texas Twinkie. Let's make them. The first thing you'll need is leftover brisket, which you'll chop and add to a block of cream cheese. Then take your jalapenos, remove the ends, and core them out. Then just stuff them full of that cream cheese and brisket mixture, making sure to really pack it in there. Now you can add that cap back on and wrap in 1 to 2 pieces of bacon per pepper. And something I didn't show, but which is a good idea, is to secure that cap with a toothpick. I smoked these at 300 degrees for about an hour, but you can put them in the oven as well. And normally you'd bite right in, but I gotta give y'all the reveal. Now, is that not a beautiful sight? These are called Sinful Potatoes, and they are 100% terrible for you. Let's make them. Start with frozen hash browns, then cheddar, then onion, then a little bit of cream of chicken, full pint of sour cream, whole stick of melted butter, and then add plenty of salt and pepper, and then you're gonna mix everything really well together. And then you're gonna pack that down into a greased baking dish. Breadcrumbs, or if you want crushed corn flakes, go on top, then drizzle a little bit more melted butter, and that all goes into a 350-degree oven for about an hour or until those breadcrumbs are nice and golden brown. And look, these are good, but maybe don't eat more than once a year. We're making lobster mac and cheese with some gorgeous lobster tails from Wild Fork Foods. First step, removing the tail meat, cut up the belly, crack open, and it should pull cleanly out. I do a quick pan fry on those in brown butter, then just a rough chop and you can set aside. Then we shred our smoked Gouda and sharp white cheddar. And now before we start the sauce, get your pasta started. I'm using this Vesuvio pasta. It's kind of like a seashell. Now to make the bechamel, you start with a light blonde roux with butter and flour, add your milk, stir until nice and smooth. Kill the heat, then you can add your shredded Gouda, sharp cheddar, and that cooked lobster meat. Now just a little salt and pepper, then your cooked and drained pasta. All that goes into a greased baking dish. Top it with butter-coated panko and bake for 30 minutes. Now I like to hit it with a little more lobster because why not? Garnish with some parsley and you have a bowl of some killer lobster mac. This is a Moink Ball, and this is how I make them. Start with ground pork and Italian sausage. To that, add minced garlic, then 2 eggs, and then either breadcrumbs or pork panko if you're staying low carb. To that, add your barbecue rub, and then dig in and mix together really well. Now we take that sausage, put a little pearl of mozzarella in there and fold it around, and then wrap that ball in regular bacon. You don't need thick cut for these. Now put them in a 300-degree smoker or oven until internal is at least 165. And I guarantee these are some balls everyone will enjoy. Crawfish beignets are the perfect use for leftover crawfish after a boil, and this is how I make them. Start with 2 eggs and whisk until they're good and frothy. Then add your crawfish tails, your green bell pepper, green onion, garlic, 1.5 cups flour, baking powder, some salt, and then just enough milk to get a nice thick consistency, sort of like a thick pancake. Drop those in your deep fryer and let them go a few minutes until they're nice and golden brown. You should have a little crunch on the outside, soft as a pillow on the inside. Serve them with a little pink sauce, and that's hard to beat. Smoked beef ribs, aka meat butter. I hit these with truff spicy mayo, reload magnum, and hardcore black. From there, I put it on the smoker at 225 until it's stalled out, where I wrap and let it go the rest of the way. When it's done, make sure you let it rest for at least an hour. And that's just going to ensure the juice stays in your meat and not on the cutting board. Now look at this, smooth bone pull and ridiculously moist. If y'all want to try this method, you can find the truff at Whole Foods and everything else at the link in my bio.